Hello everyone, welcome back to Finnacle podcast. My name is Priyansh Dedia and today we have with ourselves Mr. Biren Parekh. Mr. Biren Parekh is a visionary leader and a director at CRISIL with 27 rich years of experience in the BFSI sector. He is renowned for his project and program management skills. Mr. Biren Parekh's thoughtful leadership in finance and project management is unparalleled. He is also an accomplished author of the book Supercharge Your Project Management Skills. Where he shares his vast knowledge of today's world. Welcome, Mr. Biren.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be here.
So, why don't we start with telling yourself about the audience?
Okay, sure. So, first of all, it's an honor to be here. I'd like to first of all say that all views, all my points discussion which we are doing over here are my personal views and does not reflect my employer's views. Second is that whatever suggestion, advice, or maybe recommendation I tell you or give you over here, that is again related to my personal thing only. It should not be construed as a professional or financial. Started my career around 27 years ago. I did my B computer science and then I got placed from a campus with Tata Chemicals, the Mithapur division. It was in MIS department. I joined iFlex Solutions, which was earlier called CITL, and now it is called Oracle Financial Software Services, which is in Mumbai. It is a banking software product company. So I was there for almost 14 years, and during that 14 plus years, I actually traveled to various places and I did the implementation of the core banking, which really enriched my knowledge and my experience, and that gave me a lot of, I'll say, holistic view in terms of world as well as knowledge as well as the IT. After that, I was with Barclays Bank for a year. And after that, I joined the Polaris Software, which later became Intellect Design Arena, which is again a banking software product company only. And right now with CRISIL.
That's a pretty good resume. Sir, let's deep dive into your career and knowledge.
Sure.
So, as you mentioned, you have a degree in engineering,
Correct.
and then uh, pivot your career into BFSI sector. So how did that transition happen and what helped you excel in that sector?
While see, I have grown up in a Rajkot, okay, which is a small town in Gujarat. Now, obviously, it is a quite big. So wherever I used to stay, I mean, near to my house, there was a commerce college, and there used to be a lot of professors who used to teach in the commerce college, and they used to stay very nearby my place. So while I was doing my engineering, I just got a thought that now why don't I learn finance or accounting? Okay, I was not having idea about accounting. So just out of a curiosity, I asked one professor, and I took from kind of a summer vocational training or whatever you want to call it to learn about accounting, basic accounting. It's like credit, debit, asset, liability, and trial balance sheet, those kind of things. Basic understanding I got. So that gave me a little bit different idea, different perspective. After that, when there was an opportunity with iFlex Solutions, at that point of time, I mean, my finance or my accounting knowledge struck to them that now there's something different. That you hardly see a person with finance or accounting knowledge at now with with an engineering student. So they took me into that, and because that was a banking software product company, that's where my actual finance journey started. And because it is a banking company or banking software product company, so during the development of that software product, I acquired a lot of knowledge about finance, and that's how my career started into finance.
Okay, I mean that's a
So,
wild
I,
journey.
so, so I, as my suggestion, my advice to youngsters or maybe people who are still in their academic journey is that try to learn something different than what you are actually pursuing as your course. Okay, so if you're doing graduation in something, you try to learn something additional outside of your topic. Okay, so that is my suggestion, my advice to youngsters.
That's pretty interesting. So, could you please tell our audience what project management exactly is, and what does it do for a company?
Sure. What is a project? Project is a sort of a temporary service or product which you are trying to create or deliver in a finite amount of time. Okay, so you say, okay, within 3 months I'll try to do this, then that is called a project. Say, for example, when government is trying to create a bridge or maybe a road, then that is a project, right? So it will have a start date, it will have fixed start date, fixed end date, fixed budget, and fixed scope. So that is project. Now managing this project is called project. Okay, and for doing the project management, you have to be very clear that what are your objectives, what are your budget, what is the scope. All this should be very clear to you, and obviously there will be certain amount of unknown elements which is called risk. So there will be risk also too. So this is all is called a project.
Okay. So, following up on that, let's say a student or an industry professional wants to venture into project management. What is the ideal career path you would suggest someone, and what are the skills they should develop along?
So for doing the project management, you have to be project. Okay. Now for being a project manager, you need to have certain skills. So now certain skills in the sense that first of all you have to be a team player. Okay, you should be able to play a good role in a team without having a okay. So that is for very first. Second is that you should have good communication skills. Okay, because you need to communicate with the team. So that is second thing. Third is that you should also be good at doing something more than what is required. Okay, so it is like going an extra mile. Okay, so that is one thing which you have to be sure that now when you are going to take up the project manager's role, then you should have those kind of leadership skill whereby you just don't do it whatever has been just assigned to you. You have to go a little bit behind or beyond what has been assigned. Okay, so that is where a project manager or leader's role comes into picture. So project manager is one who will take a basically it is like buck stops at him. Okay, so when there is a project running, if something goes wrong, then project manager is ultimately responsible. So you should be ready to do this kind of a role that if there is a kind of a adverse situation, then you are able to handle it. You have to keep cool. You have to collaborate. You have to communicate clearly with your team members, and you have to obviously stretch a bit. Okay, so those are some of the things which you have to do. So in whatever domain, wherever you are, okay, you try to develop this kind of skills. Okay, try to shoulder some of the responsibilities from your manager. Okay, so if obviously, I mean, everybody is not born as a project manager, right? So you have to start somewhere. So whatever role you are playing, you always try to say that okay to your supervisor or to your manager or to your leader that okay, is there something which I can maybe take some of your load? Okay, that is a sort of a initiative which you are showing to your manager. Okay, try to do something additional more than that. Then only you will be able to learn something more, something okay, and that is how you will slowly maybe your manager will start assigning you some more responsibility and then sees that okay you are a little bit doing more than other team members, and obviously who doesn't like people who actually does a little bit more work, right? And that is how your career will progress towards I say upwards, and that's how you maybe get to maybe reach the higher level whereby you can become a project manager or one about that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, touching upon your leadership experience, since you have been
Right.
in a leadership position for quite some time now,
Right.
what are some leadership skills that one should have at both a personal and a professional capacity, since it is important to have leadership skills at all stages of life?
As I mentioned earlier, one is that you need to be team player, whether it's in a personal life or professional life. Okay, you have to keep cool. Okay, you have to show empathy to your teams or to whoever is there in your family or in friends. Okay, you have to show some initiatives. You have to break the rules in the sense that now you have to try to innovate something, try to figure out that what best can be done rather than just following the regular things. Right. So these are the some of the things which I suggest now for youngsters. to catch up with. That they should start maybe developing this kind of a skills, which will maybe take you to a, maybe a leadership kind of a, okay. And obviously, leaders normally come to the fore in the adverse situation. Okay, so when there is adverse situation, people just run away. People feel that, oh, there is a lot of fire over here, chalo, cut lete, okay, kind of a thing. So that is not the leaders. Okay, so you should also see everywhere, wherever the people who are just running it away from adverse situation, those cannot be a leader. Okay, so leader has to be one who actually leads from the front. Okay, that is why it is called leader. Front in the sense that now when there is adverse situation, he will face the situation, he will try to find out the solution. He may not know it, okay, but it is more getting team members together, do the brainstorming, trying to figure out what is the best solution which can be taken up. Okay, see, no one knows, no one has come by learning everything from the birth, right? You keep learning everything, so you feel, you learn from it, then you try to improve upon, right? So, or maybe you try to ask someone, okay, that now what would you have done in this kind of situation, right? So leaders are those who actually now does this kind of a thing, and who is not like now, okay, I mean, other thing is that now, like, I've noticed several leaders who just keep saying that now, if there is a good thing, then they'll say, okay, I've done it. If there is bad thing, then they'll say, oh, team members. So that is totally no, no. Okay, it should be other way. If there is bad thing, then you should say, leader should say, yes, I have done it. If it's a good thing, then give credit to team. Leader might not be actually working. He is just leading the team. He is guiding the team. He is driving the team. Okay, so that's where the leadership skill comes to the fore, whereby he has to see that people are sufficiently motivated. A true leader is who does not have authority but who has influence. Okay, so just remember that if person is able to influence someone without having authority, then that is a leader. That is what you should aspire to be or try to. So that is what.
Those are actually some inspirational was the last line that you spoke about. So talking about crisis management,
Right.
there was an incident that you mentioned in your book, Supercharge Your Project Management Skill. Right?
Correct.
There was a multi-million dollar project
Right.
which faced significant delay.
Right.
So how would you tackle such situations and how did you tackle that situation particularly?
Yeah, I mean, good that you read the book and you're asking something from there. So impressive. Yeah, so there has been several situations. I'll say that not only one. Okay, but yeah, I mean this particular situation where there has been significant. Okay, now see, ultimately we have to understand that in whatever situation we are working, we all are human. Whether it is a customer, whether it is a team, whether it is a manager, whether it is a management, whoever is there, stakeholders, all are humans. So very first thing you have to understand in such kind of a situation is that you have to, as a leader, you have to acknowledge. Okay, that is the most important thing, that now if there are problems, you have to acknowledge. Once you acknowledge, then your brain starts thinking different. Okay, then you work towards solution. But first of all, if you remain in the denial mode only, okay, you say that problem does not exist, then you can't find a solution because you are not moving towards that at all, right? So first thing is that you first acknowledge that there's a problem. Okay, then try to figure out what all options are. Okay, you transparently put down the first of all options with, discuss the options with your team, figure it out what is the best for the kind of a situation. Okay, and then try to put it down pros and cons, discuss with customer. Okay, these are the options which I have. Okay, and you tell me which options you prefer. We feel our suggestion is this one, but you tell me which one you favor or you feel that this will work good. Okay, so that is how you have to handle the situation. Third is that obviously when there are delays, there is a cost attached to it. Okay, so you have to keep a holistic picture, try to figure it out how those all can be either recovered or losses can be minimized or damage can be minimized. Okay, so you consider all this kind of a situations, all this kind of a factors, parameters. You put it down on the table and collectively take this. As a leader, you don't, you can't take a unilateral decision. Okay, because I feel good this way. Should not be like that. See that now in key adverse situation. Okay, remember
One is that we have to keep cool. Okay. And second is that team has to be with you. If team is not with you, you is not able to deliver some. Okay. You leaders is not who he actually does the work by himself, but he ensures that nothing can that. Okay, so that is my kind of a approach to any kind of situation. I'm in this kind of situation, but any kind of situation verify we have to with customer to tell customer that
Yes, you booked up over here, and this is what we can best do collectively, and this is what I suggest we should go. Okay, now let customer take a call, and then fine. Yeah. So that is how normally I approach all the situations, and I'm sure because customers are also ultimately human being, okay, and they also understand that yes, see, once you accept your mistake, now half of your problem gets solved because ego comes into the picture until you don't accept your mistake. Okay. Once you accept it, customer understands yes that he has accepted it and yes, we have to now find a solution rather than just repenting or not crying or just praying. Right? So that is how we normally do that.
I mean, that those are very rich experience words coming from you, having such experience. If you talk about ego and stuff like that, so being in a senior position comes with its own set of ego and pride. So, having talked to you, we sense a lot of humility and groundedness in your voice and your approach. So, how do you maintain that being in such a senior position?
So I say that that comes from my one is family values. Second is that maybe because I have grown up like that only, and I never thought of showing ego or pride on all those things because all these things are temporary. Okay, your position is temporary. As soon as you step down from your position or from your chair, no one is going to look at you, right? They will just remember how you make them feel, right? It is not that now they remember that now you have dictated. People will give you a value, okay? I mean, that now good that he has gone, okay? Because he used to abuse me and all those things, right? But depending on how you make them feel, that makes a difference. And that is what I feel. And again, it's during my growing years or my initial career years also, I also did the same thing. Okay, for the boss who were abusing, I didn't like them. I don't remember them also. And for the bosses who were used to believing me, trusting me, and that's where I used to work. Right? I'll also tell you some incidents like now. Because of this kind of, I say, my nature, I have seen multiple situations, multiple times it has happened that there are some deadlines which are there for the project or for the team. And I mean, I knew that we are slipping it, but obviously, due to kind of my nature, it's not that now I force them that now you work like 24 hours and not get it done. But in spite of not telling the team, many times I have noticed that now, next day when I come to office, team is still working, okay, without telling them. And it's like now, I have never told them. I have just told that, okay, at the start of the project, this is a kind of a deadline which we have, and this is what we have committed to customer. Now, if we can't meet those deadlines on the last, whatever, week or so, last 2, 3 days kind of a thing, it's okay. I mean, I know that I have to face the rent of the customer, and I normally face the customer also for all those kind of things and situations. But team has so much trust in me at times that now they will work overnight to see that now before the day starts for the customer, delivery happens. Okay, it's purely because you believe in the team, you give them the full space, you give them the full authority, you empower them. That's when this kind of thing will happen.
You so looking at your resume, you've stayed at let's say Barclays and Oracle for a long period of time, which goes against the Gen Z's culture of job hopping every 3 or 4 years. So, what are the pros and cons that you look at for staying at one company for a long time, and what made you stay?
Sure. I think, yeah, I understand. I think Gen Z normally keeps hopping job every year, 2 year or 3 year for whatever small changes. Or, yeah, sometimes obviously big increments.
but see, while I was with iFlex, okay, I used to daily done something new. Okay, I mean, daily in the sense not actually being that AE, but as and when new project starts, new project comes, I used to learn something new every time, things happens. And I used to travel to a different countries also. So because of that, every time it was something new which was there on my plate. Okay, and it used to take time for me to understand, digest, and learn something new. So that was one. So I was continuously learning over the period of whatever few years. I mean, 40 years. I mean, I was there with iFlex. Now that helped me to be in the same job for a long time. Okay. So that is one. Second is that I used to only change when I felt that now I'm covered saturated. I am not able to learn something new. I am not able to move to a different job function within the same company because of expected result. That I used to change of thinking culture. Okay. I never used to think from that no, salary perspective that no, I mean now I'm done in 2 years, I'm getting 30% increment that would let me go. So I never thought of doing no that way in my okay. Third is that third reason for changing a job is that now you should only change a job when there is a sort of a manager or the company culture is a toxic culture. Okay. So if they don't recognize, they don't appreciate, and they sort of abuse your whatever now skills, etc. And that's when you should maybe think of changing the job. Okay, so those are the two, three reasons when I used to change the job. But since I used to continue learning something or other in the same company, I never got a chance to think that no, now I need to change the job. Okay, so that's how I used to continue to stay in one company for a long duration. And ultimately, see, nowadays it helps individual if company is issuing a ESOPs. Okay, so if companies are giving ESOPs and you are one of the eligible candidate or employee, then I think you should take a ESOP, stay for longer duration because ultimately in the longer run, ESOPs brings us in. Okay, so that is what I feel that that's how we should take a stand.
Okay, so younger generation should take inspiration from him regarding this. So this is a very interest. The next question is a very interesting question. It's not every day that you get to sit with the director of a listed company. So, as a director of CRISIL, what are your roles and responsibilities that you need to carry out?
Okay, so being a part of a CRISIL, it's very nice company. I'd say top few companies who have received the best place to work for award since past several years, and the work culture over here is very good, excellent. The way company takes care of employees and everyone is superb. The day normally starts in sort of a predictive manner, whereby some status calls on some of the projects which are running, which happens, and then maybe looking for some whatever contract or some new opportunities where we need to bid or where we need to work on. So those kind of thing happens, and then normally some customer calls happens. Okay, to governance call happens, steering committee call happens. So those are some of the things which normally happens during the day. Uh, yes, and then obviously there will be a sort of a quarterly review meeting, say strategy review meeting, all those things, right? So always it is predictable. But yes, at times there will be a kind of a fire which will be there, and that's where you have to stretch a bit. I mean, maybe ensure that no, best hands, best brains are there in the one in the boardroom, and things are getting addressed in the time. So that's all it is.
And so, while going through your LinkedIn as well, you stated that you've done angel investing in a few companies.
Right.
So, let's say someone wants to start angel investing. What wealth threshold you would suggest that one should reach before venturing into such an industry and start angel investing?
Um, as such, I don't think that there should be any threshold for which you should go for angel investing or not. It all depends on the risk appetite, okay, of an individual. So if you are ready to take some risky bets, then you can go for angel investment. If you are not, then you don't go for it. Okay, and I am very risk taker, very risk taker, and that's where I take a lot of risky bets. continuously, and that has obviously helped me in sometimes, and sometimes I have obviously lost, I mean, which happens everywhere. But life itself is at risk, right? I mean, so you can't avoid those things. Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone who ventures into angel investing is looking for that Ola type of investment. So, what do you look in for a startup? And let's say, I mean, you're sector agnostic or some specific sectors that you look at.
No, I'm so sector agnostic. I don't look at any particular sector as such. Although I started with ag tech because I started during COVID, and during COVID time, ag tech was a flavor of the season, right? Everyone was doing all this online kind of tuition and teaching and all those things. So I started with ag tech, but I've never kept my focus on that sector or segment. Uh, I have invested in, I say, quite wide variety of industry, edtech being a little bit heavier as that compared to others. But it is there on the EV side, then it is on the medical side, then it is automation side, then it is on the mental wellness side, even on the finance side. So all these different sectors are there. What I look for is that now company should have something innovating product or services. That is very first thing, very basic criteria to look for it. Okay. Second is that I looked at whether the founders are committed or okay. So founders are both, founders are committed, and when obviously you talk to them, you'll come to know that no, uh, how good they are at the search. Third is that whether they have already got some traction in the market or okay, whether they are getting from a revenue or obviously when you doing the startup, there might be some losses, but if by any chance startup is sort of in a profitable zone, then it becomes much easier for me to focus on the put money. Okay, so those are the issues. Apart from that, I also see that now if there is already some prominent investor who has put in money over there, or if already there is some venture capitalist who has also put in some seed money over there, that that gives me a little bit more confidence that already someone has a business. So I also look for a kind of a thing that when by someone has already done a due diligence, I try to get all of that report, I try to see that, try to read in. Obviously, then I have to apply my lot of experience, knowledge, wisdom, whatever is there, and then try to connect the dots and try to see whether this opportunity looks suitable. So that is number one thing. Yep.
So when you talk about due diligence, considering that venture capital firms have entire team or outsourced department for writing diligence, so how does an angel investor protect themselves from, uh, let's say, companies which are not portraying what they are actually?
Yeah, so you have to ask a few questions also, right? I mean, it's not that you just read and you will just hear what founders are saying and you go with it, right? So you have to also do the cross check also with some of the peers in the industry, okay, that how they are doing it, okay, whether this sector is going to go or not. That is again one thing. Second is that we will do sort of a cross checking, like whether the profit which they are trying to depict or whatever revenue they are trying to depict is correct or okay. Correct in the sense you ask for some to some kind of try to get some service from I say a mystery shopper kind of a thing also. Okay, so you have to try to do all these things to figure it out. Okay, if you feel then the company might be faking, it's all those things also will do.
Okay. So for our audience, Biren Parekh also has two very successful children. So what advice would you give to your children and the younger generation in general to achieve financial freedom when they reach say 40 or 50 of age?
Yeah, so basic things is that what I teach them is value for money. Okay, so when you say value for money is that if you want to buy something, first of all, think about it whether it is worth it or okay, the kind of a value which is being quoted or the price money which is being quoted is whether it is a worth of. If there is very basic thing which I have taught my kids. Second is that do you really need it? Okay, so whether is there something which can be used or is available in your whatever home or environment which can be used for it or not. Okay, that is second thing which I try to do. And if required, now if there is something which can be repaired and can be worked with, let's try to do it. And third is for building the financial independence. Uh, I have very clearly told my kids to invest in the capital market, which is like mutual fund, equity, or maybe those kind of things. Okay, not just rely on the FDs and kind of a thing. Okay, so that is what I have told them very clearly, that you always keep your money invested in the asset class. Okay, and not in the, just don't keep the fiat money in the bank. So that is what I have taught them, and that's what I do.
Okay, okay. So, touch base on your experience with the capital markets.
Right.
What are the qualities that you look for a company when you are researching for long-term investing?
Is my personal view, and this is based on my experience, and this again may not be correct tomorrow also when someone watches this podcast. Okay. So I try to see, I normally read a newspaper daily for 15-20 minutes, okay, financial newspaper, and I try to connect the dots based on what is happening in the country, world, or market, okay. And I try to see that, okay, what people are talking more about it, or what services are going to be used more. Okay, accordingly, I try to find the company sector and try to invest according to that. Okay, so for example, say when when festive season arrives or when wedding season arrives, gold prices shoots up, right? So that time something related to gold will go into go. Okay, so that is how I try to predict. If there is a monsoon which is coming up, if the prediction is that monsoon will be good, okay, then agricultural related companies will do well, right? So then you take a whatever or one step ahead and try to take those kind of bets. Okay, so that's how I try to do it. Obviously, then apply knowledge. Then I talk to people. I listen to some whatever podcasts and channels. All those things. So I try to connect the dots, and then I try to take some decision.
Let's say suggest your daughter or your son to invest in.
Um, I think there are many. Difficult to zero it down to any single stock or like that. I mean, but some companies are doing really good. They have kind of a monopoly kind of a business. So I think going for those kind of stocks definitely helps. I mean, so it is like whether it's a Bata or whether it is a Pidilite or whether it is a Bharti Airtel. Okay, there are several stocks who are kind of having a very good market share. Okay, so I prefer those kind of stocks which are having a more risk. So again, those will be more of a large cap kind of. I normally don't invest in large cap too much. I go for a sort of a mid cap or small cap. Okay, and that's where again, as I said earlier, I try to connect the dots, try to figure it out what is going to do well, and then I try to take bets over them. But mostly my bets are long-term bets, and I don't just do any kind of short-term.
So, I mean, thank you so much for this podcast, and your invaluable experience will be very fruitful for our audience. So, thank you so much for coming in, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, thank you. Good that my views will be uh, heard by some of the youngsters, and if it helps them, that will be great. Happy to hear from them. Thank you. Great.